Stop. Before you scroll past this, before your mind rushes to the next thing, before the weight of yesterday's unpaid bills or tomorrow's impossible deadlines pulls you under, stop. Because what you are about to hear in the next few minutes is not a motivational speech. It is not a collection of pretty words designed to make you feel good for an hour before the gray heaviness of financial worry settles back over your chest like a stone. What I am about to give you is a protocol. A precise, spiritually grounded, scientifically understood morning practice drawn from the teachings of one of the greatest metaphysical teachers who ever walked this earth, Florence Scovel Shinn. And it has the power, if you will allow it, to completely reorganize the financial landscape of your life. Not someday, not when conditions improve. Now, starting with the very first breath you take tomorrow morning. I know where you are right now. I know because I have been there, and because thousands of people who now live differently have been there too. You wake up, and before your eyes are even fully open, before the light has touched your face, before you have had a single conscious thought, the dread is already there. It arrived before you did. It is waiting for you like an unwanted guest who never leaves the number in your bank account, the bill that came yesterday, the conversation you are dreading, the opportunity that seems to belong to everyone else but you. And what most people do not understand, what Florence Scovel Shinn understood with extraordinary clarity nearly a century ago, is that this moment, this exact moment, when you first rise into consciousness, is the most consequential moment of your entire day. And most people are destroying it before they even realize the day has begun. Florence Scovel Shinn was not a theorist. She was a practical mystic. She worked with real people facing real crises, people who had lost everything, people drowning in debt, people who had been told by the world that their time had passed and their luck had run out. And she gave them tools, exact words, precise practices, spiritual laws that operate with the same reliability as physical laws. You do not hope that gravity will work today. You do not wonder whether the sun will rise. These things happen because they are governed by laws that do not bend, do not take days off, do not play favorites. And Florence taught that the laws governing prosperity, the laws governing the flow of money and opportunity and divine supply into a human life, are just as reliable, just as consistent, just as absolute if you understand how to work with them. What she discovered, and what modern neuroscience is only now beginning to confirm, is that the human mind operates in a profoundly different state in the first 20 to 30 minutes after waking. This is not poetry, this is physiology. When you emerge from sleep, the brain transitions gradually through states, from the deep unconscious programming of sleep, through the border territory between dreaming and full awareness, and finally into the alert, defended, analytical state of your ordinary waking consciousness. That border territory, that sacred threshold between sleep and full wakefulness, is a window unlike any other in the 24-hour cycle. In that window, the subconscious mind is open in a way it almost never is during the rest of the day. Its defenses are down, its filters are soft. It is, as Florence described it, like freshly turned earth, ready to receive whatever seed you plant. Most people plant weeds. They reach for their phones and absorb a stream of anxiety-inducing news, comparison, and noise. Their minds flood with problems before they have had a single moment of peace. Or they simply lie there and allow the habit mind to run its familiar program of lack and worry, rehearsing everything that is wrong, everything that is missing, everything that might go wrong today. And they do not realize, because no one has ever told them, that in doing this, they are not merely having unhappy thoughts, they are programming. They are taking that open, receptive, fertile subconscious mind and pressing into it, with extraordinary force, the impression of scarcity. They are imprinting lack as the dominant frequency of their entire day before they have even set foot on the floor. Florence called this the law of the first mental impression, and she held it as one of the most powerful and non-negotiable laws of the mind. Whatever you accept in those first waking moments, Whatever you allow to settle as the first deep impression of the day, that becomes the lens through which your subconscious organizes everything that follows. Your subconscious mind does not evaluate, it does not argue, it does not weigh evidence or consider alternatives. It simply accepts what you give it as truth and then goes to work, tirelessly and invisibly, arranging your thoughts, your perceptions, your instincts, your energy, and ultimately your circumstances in alignment with that impression. If the impression is lack, it will find lack everywhere, in conversations, in opportunities missed, in possibilities unseen. If the impression is abundance, it will find abundance in doors that seemed closed, in people who show up at precisely the right moment, in ideas that arrive fully formed, in chances that seem, to the outside world, like luck. There is no luck, there is only frequency. And what I am about to give you is the exact protocol for setting your frequency before the world has a chance to set it for you. This practice takes 33 minutes, not 30, not 35, 33. And if that specificity makes your rational mind twitch, I want you to sit with that discomfort for a moment, because Florence Scovel Shinn was deeply precise about the spiritual mathematics underlying her work. The number 33 is what numerologists call a master number, a number that vibrates at a frequency beyond ordinary numerical value. It carries within it the creative power of 3, the Trinity, the divine expression, the number of manifestation combined with the resonant frequency of 6, which is the number of harmony, love, and provision. 3 plus 3 equals 6. When you dedicate 33 minutes to this work, you are not simply spending time. You are aligning with a frequency that Florence described as the vibration of spiritual completion, the precise window in which a new mental pattern can be firmly and permanently established before the noise of the day disturbs the ground. 33 minutes. That is the time it takes. And I want you to notice something before we go further. You do not need to be fully awake for all of them. You do not need to be sitting upright in lotus position with perfect concentration and a clear mind. The beauty of working with the subconscious in the morning is that your subconscious does not require your full conscious attention to receive. You can be lying in bed, half drowsy, eyes closed, listening. You can have this playing softly while you move slowly through your morning. Because your subconscious is always listening, always processing, always absorbing the frequencies and intentions and repeated truths that are present in your environment even at low volume. Even when your conscious mind wanders, even when you drift back towards sleep for a few minutes, the metaphysical laws Florence taught do not require perfection. They require willingness. They require openness. They require that you show up and offer your mind to something better than fear. And the rest is handled at levels of consciousness deeper than your thinking mind can reach. I want to tell you about a woman named Sarah. She was 54 years old, and she had spent 17 years at the same desk, doing the same work, drawing the same salary that never quite stretched far enough. She was not failing. She was not destitute. She was stuck in that particular financial misery that is perhaps the hardest kind to escape, the misery of almost enough, of perpetual almost, of working hard and doing everything right and still never arriving at ease. Her daughter needed money for university. Her car was deteriorating in ways she could not afford to address. And every morning, Sarah woke up with that feeling, the heavy, pre-conscious dread of money before she was even aware of being awake. She found this practice when she was at the lowest point that quiet desperation can reach. And the morning she began it, she felt, by her own admission, completely foolish. Her mind told her this was nonsense. Her mind told her that affirmations were for people with time to spare and the luxury of optimism, not for a woman with real bills and a real deficit and a real problem. But she kept going, not because she believed it would work, because she had tried everything else she could think of and she had nothing left to lose except 33 minutes of morning worry, which, she figured, was not much of a sacrifice. Day 1, nothing changed except that she felt slightly less tense getting into her car. Day 2. The dread was still there, but it arrived later, softer. Day 3. She noticed herself humming while she made coffee, and then stopped and stared at the kettle with tears in her eyes because she had not hummed in the morning in years. She had not felt like humming. By Day 5, something had shifted that she could not name. A lightness, a quality of expectancy that was entirely unfamiliar and entirely real. And on Day 7, her manager called her in and told her about a position that had just been created. A position tailored almost precisely to the skills Sarah had spent 17 years developing and never been asked to fully use. Sarah took the position. The salary increase was 40%, not the cautious 3% she had trained herself to hope for. 40%, in a single conversation. After 1 week of changing nothing but the first 33 minutes of her morning. I know what your mind is doing right now. Your mind is looking for the catch, the coincidence, the rational explanation. And I want to tell you what Sarah said when I asked her the same question, whether it was coincidence, whether it would have happened anyway, whether the timing was just chance. She said, maybe it would have happened. Maybe my manager had been thinking about it for months. But I had been at that company for 17 years, and nothing like this had ever happened before. And the only thing I changed was what I did with the first 33 minutes of every morning. So you tell me what coincidence means, and I'll tell you whether I believe in it. What the morning protocol does is not magic in the sense of supernatural interference in the laws of cause and effect. It is magic in the sense that Florence intended, which is the completely natural and reliable operation of spiritual laws that most people never learn to use consciously. When you shift your dominant frequency, when you change the signal you are broadcasting through your thoughts, your words, your expectations, and your emotional state, you change what you are capable of perceiving, receiving, and drawing toward you. Opportunities do not appear from nowhere. They were there all along, but you were not tuned to the frequency on which they were broadcasting. The right conversation happens because you are in the emotional and energetic state that makes you open to it rather than closed and defended. The right idea arrives because your mind is oriented toward possibility rather than braced against threat. This is not woo. This is how consciousness works. Florence Scovel Shinn knew it intuitively and expressed it in the language of spirit. Contemporary neuroscience is arriving at the same understanding through the language of the brain. The operating principle is the same. Now I want to walk you through the protocol itself. Exactly what you do, exactly what you say. The precise steps, in the precise order, so that when you wake up tomorrow morning, you know with complete clarity what to do from the first moment your eyes open. The very first thing, and this is non-negotiable, is that you do not reach for your phone. I understand that this instruction may feel almost physically impossible if you have been waking to your phone for years. The pull is real. The habit is deeply grooved. But I need you to understand what you are doing when you reach for that phone in the first moments of waking. You are taking that open, receptive, fertile subconscious mind, that sacred window, and flooding it with the unfiltered noise of the world. News designed to provoke fear, comparison designed to provoke inadequacy, demands and notifications designed to provoke urgency and anxiety. You are handing over the most powerful few minutes of your day to a device that will fill it with someone else's agenda. Do not do this. Not for 33 minutes. Not on the morning of the day you begin to live differently. Instead, the moment you become aware that you are awake, keep your eyes closed or allow them to open softly, without urgency, without focus, and take 3 breaths, simply 3. In through the nose slowly, filling the chest and then the belly, pausing for just a moment at the top, and then releasing through the mouth completely, slowly, until the lungs are empty. 3 times. This is not decoration. These 3 breaths send a direct signal to your nervous system, to the same system that is primed for threat response. The moment stress enters consciousness, and that signal says, we are safe, we are calm, we are not in danger, we are ready to receive. Your body needs to know this before your mind can accept what comes next. Florence understood that the body and the spirit are not separate instruments, they must be brought into alignment together, and the breath is the fastest bridge between the physical state and the spiritual one. From that place of soft, open breathing, speak your opening declaration. Speak it aloud, if you are able, even in a whisper. If you cannot speak aloud, give it the full force of your inner voice, not as thought, but as pronouncement. There is a difference between thinking a thing and declaring it, and Florence was very clear about this distinction. The spoken word, she taught, is a creative force, not metaphorically, literally. When you speak, you activate something that silent thought does not reach. You engage your body, your breath, your vibration. You make a claim on reality with your whole physical presence. So speak, even softly, even quietly, and say this. Today I wake into abundance. This day belongs to the divine, and the divine's supply for me is infinite. Every door that should open for me is open now. Every good thing that is mine by divine right is drawn to me now. I receive it all with gratitude and grace. Say it 3 times, and it does not matter. Florence was emphatic about this. It does not matter whether you feel it when you say it. It does not matter whether your rational mind is simultaneously generating a list of reasons why none of this is true. The subconscious does not listen to the rational mind's objections. It responds to repetition, to emotional tone, and to the authority with which a declaration is made. Speak as though you already know these words to be true, even if the only thing you know right now is that you are willing to speak them. Willingness is enough to begin. Now the 33 minutes begin in earnest, and you move through 7 sacred affirmations. 7 because Florence held 7 as the number of completion, the number that signals a full cycle of spiritual work. You will say each one 3 times, slowly, with feeling, allowing a breath between each repetition, allowing the words to move from your lips into the air, and from the air into every cell of your listening body. The first affirmation is the one that sets the field. It is an invocation, an opening of the spiritual channels through which abundance flows. There is nothing passive about this declaration. You are not asking. You are not hoping. You are speaking as one who knows the nature of the universe and claims their rightful place within it. Infinite Spirit, the source of all supply, opens the way before me. I am a magnet of divine design, and everything that belongs to me by heavenly right is drawn to me now: wealth, opportunity, provision, and more good than I can currently imagine. 3 times, slowly, breathing between each. Let the words settle. Let them go past the surface of your conscious mind and sink into the deeper strata where your operating beliefs live. The second affirmation addresses the lie of limitation, the deeply programmed belief that there is not enough, that the supply can run out, that your good can be blocked or delayed indefinitely. Florence was fierce about this. She taught that lack is never a condition of the universe. Lack is always and only a condition of human consciousness. The universe is infinite. The supply of God, the divine, the creative intelligence behind all things, by whatever name you choose to call it, is inexhaustible. What we call scarcity is simply our inability, in a given moment, to access what is already there. This affirmation begins to dissolve that inability. My supply is limitless, eternal, and ever-present. I do not have to chase what is mine. I do not have to earn what divine love has already prepared for me. Unexpected blessings, unexpected money, unexpected provision, and unexpected opportunities are flowing toward me now from every direction and from sources I cannot yet see. 3 times. Give each word its full weight. Do not rush. Your subconscious does not work faster when you hurry it. It works deeper when you give it stillness. The third affirmation is about your identity in relation to money. This is where so much unconscious sabotage lives, in the story we have absorbed about who we are and what we deserve. People who struggle with money, almost universally, carry a hidden belief that they are not quite the kind of person who has money. They believe it belongs to other people, people who are smarter, luckier, born into better circumstances, possessed of qualities they lack. Florence dismantled this belief not by arguing with it but by replacing it with a deeper truth, spoken with enough repetition and conviction that the deeper truth eventually takes hold. I am a clear and open channel for divine prosperity. I do not block my good. I do not turn away my abundance. I receive money freely, gracefully, and without guilt, and I allow it to flow through me as an expression of divine love in action. I am exactly the kind of person through whom prosperity moves abundantly and well. 3 times. And if any part of you resists those words, if any part of you wants to argue, wants to say that you are not that kind of person, wants to produce evidence to the contrary, breathe into that resistance and speak the affirmation anyway. The resistance is the old program running. You are installing a new one. The 4th affirmation clears the path. Florence taught extensively about invisible obstacles, the spiritual and mental blocks that stand between a person and their good. Some are rooted in unforgiveness, some in fear, some in the belief that good things require suffering before they arrive, or that you must earn abundance through pain before you are permitted to receive it freely. This affirmation sweeps the path clear. Every obstacle on my path to wealth is dissolved now by divine love. Every door that has been closed before me swings open now, in its perfect timing. Every person, every situation, every circumstance that has seemed to stand between me and my financial freedom now becomes part of the perfect unfolding of my divine supply. My way is clear. My path is illuminated. I move forward in confidence and in peace. 3 times. And as you say it, see the path in your mind, not necessarily a visual image, but a felt sense of openness, of clear passage, of being able to move forward without obstruction. Florence believed that the inner picture had power, that the mind's capacity to hold an image of its desired reality was part of how it created that reality. You do not need to visualize with intensity. Simply allow the feeling of openness to be present in your body as you speak. The 5th affirmation works with gratitude, and Florence was perhaps most insistent about this one of all. She taught that gratitude is not merely a pleasant disposition, it is a spiritual law. It is the attitude of mind that keeps the channels of receiving open. When you are grateful for what you have, when you give thanks in advance for what is coming, you are holding yourself in the frequency of abundance rather than the frequency of lack. You cannot simultaneously feel genuine gratitude and feel deprived. The 2 states are energetically incompatible. And when you give thanks for good that has not yet arrived in physical form, you are doing something extraordinary. You are treating the spiritual reality as more real than the material one, which is precisely the posture Florence taught. I am deeply grateful for the abundance that is already present in my life, however it appears right now. I am grateful for the abundance that is already on its way to me, already in motion in the invisible world, already seeking me out in response to my readiness to receive. Thank you, Infinite Spirit, for the unexpected money, the unexpected help, the unexpected blessings that are moving toward me now through channels I have not yet seen. I receive them with joy and with complete trust. 3 times, and mean it, even if the gratitude feels difficult, even if your circumstances seem to offer little to be grateful for. Florence said that the practice of gratitude, especially in hardship, is the most powerful form it can take, because it requires you to look past appearances to the deeper truth of the universe's abundance. And that act of looking past appearances is itself an act of faith that moves things in the unseen world. The 6th affirmation addresses the specific lie of shortage, the belief that there is not enough in the universe for you, that someone else's abundance comes at your expense, that the supply is finite and others have taken your share. This is perhaps the most culturally pervasive financial belief in the world, and it is one of the most thoroughly false. Florence taught, and everything she observed in the lives of her students confirmed, that the universe operates from a principle of infinite increase. There is no competition in divine supply. There is no scarcity at the source. What belongs to you by divine right will come to you, and it will not be diminished by what flows to anyone else. There is no shortage anywhere in the universe of God. There is no shortage anywhere in my life. The universe is infinitely generous, infinitely creative, infinitely capable of providing for every need I have and every desire of my heart. My good does not depend on the economy. My good does not depend on the job market. My good does not depend on any external condition. My good depends on God, and God is unlimited. My wealth is real. My provision is real. My abundance is happening right now in ways I can see and in ways I cannot yet see. 3 times. And notice as you say it, whether there is any part of you that does not believe it, any part that wants to cite the news, the statistics, the circumstances, as proof that you are wrong to claim this. When you notice that part, do not argue with it. Simply continue. Repetition is more powerful than debate. The old belief was installed by repetition, and it will be removed by repetition. The 7th and final affirmation is the one Florence called the Master Declaration. It is the one that synthesizes everything: the opening, the identity, the gratitude, the cleared path, the infinite supply, into a single statement of spiritual union with the source of all abundance. Florence believed and taught that the root of all financial struggle was the experience of separation, the feeling of being alone, unsupported, cut off from the infinite provision of the divine. And the cure for that separation was not effort or strategy or planning, though those have their place. The cure was the conscious recognition of union, of already being connected to, already held by, already provided for by the source that underlies all things. I am one with the infinite source of all supply. I am not separate from my good. I am not cut off from abundance. I am not waiting for prosperity to find me. Prosperity is my natural state, and I return to it now with each breath. God is my unlimited supply, and my unlimited supply is flowing toward me now, in money, in opportunities, in relationships, in health, in peace, in every form of good. I receive it all. I use it all wisely and well. I am prosperity. I am abundance. I am the irresistible magnetic expression of divine wealth in this world. 3 times. And on the final repetition, pause. Let the room be quiet around you. Let your body be still. Let the words you have just spoken settle into the deepest, most receptive layer of your subconscious mind. You have just planted 7 seeds in fertile ground. And your work for those 33 minutes, at the level of speaking and declaring, is complete. Now simply rest. Stay wherever you are, in bed, in a chair, standing in your kitchen, and breathe. You do not need to do anything else. The planting has been done. The subconscious is now running a program of abundance rather than a program of lack. And from this point until the end of the day, whether you are consciously thinking about any of this or not, that programming is operating, shaping your perceptions, opening your awareness to opportunities, softening your defenses so that good can reach you, adjusting your energy in ways that influence how other people respond to you, what conversations happen, what ideas arrive, what doors quietly open. I want to tell you about a man named Marcus. He was 49 and had run his own business for 12 years. For the first 9 years, the business had grown steadily. Then something stalled. Not dramatically, it did not collapse. It simply stopped. Same clients, same revenue, same ceiling that no amount of effort seemed to move. Marcus was, by his own description, a practical man with deep skepticism about anything that could not be measured with instruments he trusted. He came to this practice not from belief, but from exhaustion. He had tried every business strategy, every marketing approach, every restructuring of his time and energy that seemed reasonable. Nothing had moved the ceiling. His wife had been telling him about Florence Scovel Shinn for months. He finally listened, as he said, with no belief whatsoever, purely to have something to tell her when it didn't work. He set his alarm 33 minutes earlier. He stayed in bed. He said the affirmations out loud in a voice he described as deeply uncomfortable to hear coming out of his own mouth. He felt, he said, like a man reading lines from someone else's script in a language he barely spoke, and then he got up and went to work. Nothing happened on day 1 or day 2 or day 3. On day 5, an email arrived from a former client, someone Marcus had not heard from in over 2 years, asking whether Marcus was available for a project. The scope of what was described was unlike anything Marcus had previously handled. He met with the client. He won the contract. The value of that single contract exceeded his best previous quarter. And within 6 months, on the strength of that project and the referrals it generated, Marcus's revenue had doubled, had more than doubled. When I asked Marcus what he made of it, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said this: "I still don't have a framework that explains it satisfactorily. What I know is that for 12 years, I was in exactly the right profession, with exactly the right skills, and I was completely invisible to the caliber of client I needed. And then I started this practice, and within a week, a client of exactly the right caliber appeared. I didn't advertise differently. I didn't change my pricing, or my positioning, or my pitch. I changed what happened in the first 33 minutes of every morning. That's all I changed. And either that was the cause, or reality is more random than I'm comfortable accepting. I believe it was the cause. I believe it because Florence Scovel Shinn spent decades watching exactly this phenomenon unfold in the lives of the people she worked with. I believe it because the spiritual laws she articulated are not theories, they are consistent, repeatable, verifiable through experience. I believe it because the same pattern has shown up in too many lives, too many times, too specifically to be dismissed as coincidence. What Florence understood, and what I want you to carry with you as you begin this practice, is that the universe is not withholding your good. The universe is not testing you, punishing you, reserving abundance for a more deserving category of person to which you do not yet belong. The supply of divine love, divine provision, divine abundance, is flowing constantly and generously, and without condition. What has been blocking it is not a flaw in the universe's generosity. What has been blocking it is a frequency, specifically the frequency of lack, of unworthiness, of the deeply programmed belief that not enough is your normal and prosperity is for someone else. That frequency is a wall that your good cannot penetrate, no matter how abundantly it is offered. The 33-minute morning practice is how you dismantle that wall, not by forcing it down through willpower, not by arguing with your own limiting beliefs in the hope of defeating them intellectually, but by changing the program, by giving your subconscious new instructions, repeated daily with consistency and intention, until those new instructions become the default operating pattern and the old ones fade from lack of reinforcement. And here is what I want you to understand about the mechanics of this. You do not need to believe the affirmations completely when you begin. Florence was explicit about this. She never required belief as a precondition for practice. She required only willingness, the willingness to speak the words even when your mind resists them, to repeat them even when they feel foreign, to show up to the practice even on the mornings when it feels pointless. Because the subconscious does not need you to consciously agree with what you tell it. It needs repetition, emotional tone, and authority. When you speak these words with even a small measure of conviction, when you speak them because you have decided to speak them, not because you feel them to be true, you are exercising a form of spiritual authority over your own mind that is more powerful than any amount of passive wishing. The practice also works, and this matters for those of you with complicated mornings, when your conscious attention is not fully engaged, when it plays softly in the background while you make coffee, when it continues while you are in the shower, when you drift in and out of full awareness during those early minutes. The subconscious does not require your concentrated attention. It requires your exposure. Consistent, daily, open-hearted exposure to the frequency of abundance is enough. You are not trying to convince your thinking mind. You are programming the deeper mind that runs everything the thinking mind sits on top of. Now I want to say something about consistency, because Florence was very clear about this, and I do not want to soften it into something less than she intended. This practice does not work as a one-time experiment. It does not work as something you try for 3 days and then evaluate for results. The subconscious was programmed with its current patterns over years, in many cases over decades, through the accumulation of thousands of small, repeated impressions. You are not going to overwrite that programming in a morning or a week. What you will do, if you practice consistently, is begin to feel a shift, sometimes subtle, sometimes dramatic, within the first week. And if you continue, if you bring yourself back to this practice every morning with the same devotion that you would bring to any other sacred commitment, the shift deepens and widens and becomes permanent. 30 days. I am asking you to give this 30 days of consistent morning practice. Not perfectly. Florence never demanded perfection, and I will not either. If you miss a morning, begin again the next morning without self-criticism, which itself is a form of lack consciousness and has no place in the practice of abundance. But 30 days of showing up, of speaking the words, of offering the first 33 minutes of your day to the reprogramming of your prosperity frequency. And in those 30 days, notice everything. Notice when unexpected things happen, small things, strange coincidences, doors that seem to open without you pushing them. Notice shifts in how you feel when you wake up. Notice what kinds of thoughts arrive during the day. Notice what kinds of opportunities appear in your field of vision that you might previously have been too contracted to see. I want to close with a third story, because it speaks to something different to the way this practice changes not just the external circumstances, but the internal experience of being alive in a financial reality that has felt like a prison. Jennifer was 51 years old, a single mother of 2 teenagers, working 2 jobs to cover rent in a city that kept raising the cost of everything, while her wages stayed approximately the same. She was exhausted in a way that had become her baseline, not acutely tired, but fundamentally depleted, as though some essential resource had been used up over years of financial struggle and had not been replenished. She did not wake up each morning with fear exactly. She woke up with a kind of grim, resigned heaviness that was in some ways worse than fear because it had stopped feeling wrong. It had started to feel like just what mornings were. She found this practice when a friend sent it to her, and she began it with the kind of practical skepticism that is the best kind, not hostile, not dismissive, but simply honest about the absence of expectations. She set her alarm 33 minutes earlier, which she described as an act of sacrifice. She performed mostly out of love for her friend and hoped that she could report back with something other than failure. On day 4, a text arrived from someone she had not spoken to in months, offering her freelance work a few hours a week. Nothing dramatic, but real additional income that she had not sought and had not expected. On day 11, one of her employers, who had been saying for several months that there were no additional hours available, called to offer her a shift expansion she had given up hoping for. And on day 18, through a conversation she had almost not had with someone she almost had not spoken to, she learned about a local assistance program she had never heard of. She applied. 2 months later, she received a housing grant of $8,000. But what Jennifer said to me, and this is the part I want you to hold, was not about the money, exactly. She said, the money was real, and it mattered enormously. But the thing that changed first, and the thing that made all the rest possible, was how I woke up. After about a week, I stopped waking up into that gray heaviness. I started waking up into something that I can only call hope. Not certainty, not confidence, exactly just hope. Just the feeling that today might be different, that something good might be possible, that the day was open rather than already closed before it started. And from that place, I saw things differently. I heard things differently. I took chances I would have been too deflated to take before. The morning practice didn't put $8,000 in my bank account. It put me in a state where $8,000 could find its way to me. That is precisely it. That is the whole teaching. Florence Scovel Shinn did not promise that affirmations would mysteriously deposit money in your account through some bypassing of natural law. She promised that when you align your consciousness with the truth of abundance, when you consistently, daily, disciplinedly claim your divine right to prosperity, rather than rehearsing your right to struggle, you enter a state in which your natural good can reach you. The opportunities were there before. The people were there before. The possibilities were already in the field. What changed was you, your frequency, your openness, your capacity to recognize and receive what was always being offered. You are not broken. Whatever your financial situation looks like right now, whatever numbers are in that account, whatever conversations you have been dreading, whatever bills have been accumulating, whatever opportunities seem to have passed you by, none of it is the verdict on who you are or what is possible for you. It is simply the current readout of a frequency you have been broadcasting, often unconsciously, for a long time. And frequency can be changed. Not someday, not when circumstances improve, not when you feel ready or confident or less afraid. Now, beginning tomorrow morning, beginning with the first breath you take as your eyes open. 33 minutes, 7 affirmations, 3 breaths to begin. The decision to give your subconscious mind something better than fear with which to build your day. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that your good is already prepared for you. That the universe has already assembled everything you need: the money, the opportunity, the person, the idea, the breakthrough, and is holding it in readiness, waiting for you to vibrate at the frequency where it can reach you. You are not waiting on God. You are not waiting on luck, or the economy, or someone else's decision. You are simply waiting to align with the abundance that is already yours by divine right. Begin tomorrow. Stay in bed for 33 minutes. Do not touch your phone. Breathe 3 times, slowly and deliberately. And speak the truth of your abundance into the morning air. Even if your voice shakes, even if your mind argues, even if part of you is not yet certain, speak it anyway. Speak it for the part of you that knows, beneath all the fear and the conditioned scarcity and the accumulated weight of difficult years, that you were not born for lack. You were born for more than this. And it has been waiting for you all along. The universe is infinitely patient. It has been waiting for you to open the channel. Open it tomorrow morning. Speak your good into existence before the world has a chance to speak its limitations into you. And watch with curiosity, with gratitude, with the open and expectant heart that Florence always said was the most important thing you could bring to this practice. Watch what the day and the week and the month and the life that follows begins to bring to you. Welcome to your prosperity. It has been here all along. And now I want to speak directly to the part of you that is still holding back. The part that has listened to everything I have said and found it resonant and even moving, but that is already preparing its exit, already composing the thought that will allow you to close this and return to the familiar difficulty of your current financial reality without actually changing anything. I know that part. I have watched it operate in hundreds of people, and I want to address it directly, with love, and without apology. Because Florence Scovel Shinn did not deal in comfortable half measures. She dealt in truth. The part of you that is preparing to step back from this practice before it begins is not your wisdom. It is not your discernment. It is not the reasonable, practical part of you that protects you from foolishness. It is the part of you that has been trained, through repetition and experience and cultural conditioning, to believe that your current financial reality is the truest thing about you, more true than any spiritual law, more true than any morning practice, more true than any affirmation spoken in a bedroom while the world is still quiet. And that part of you will work very hard to get you to confirm its belief by doing nothing different, and then observing, with grim satisfaction, that nothing has changed. Do not let it win tomorrow morning. Not because winning matters in the competitive sense, but because you deserve to find out what your life looks like when it is built on a different foundation than the one fear has been laying for you. You deserve 33 mornings of finding out. That is not a large ask. That is 33 mornings set against however many years you have already spent trying to build abundance on the shaky ground of a consciousness programmed for lack. Florence Scovel Shinn came to her work through a period of personal financial devastation. This is not widely known about her, because she wrote and taught from a place of such authority and certainty that it is easy to imagine she was born knowing these laws. She was not. She learned them through the kind of necessity that strips away everything comfortable and leaves you with a choice between surrender and discovery. She chose discovery. She began to work, rigorously and with great discipline, with the principles that had existed in the spiritual traditions for millennia, but had never been organized in quite the way she organized them practically, accessibly, with an insistence on exact language and precise repetition that made them usable by ordinary people in the middle of ordinary financial crises. And what she found, and what she taught for the rest of her life, was that these laws worked, that they were as reliable as any physical law, that they could be counted on, that the universe was not a random, indifferent system in which you were essentially powerless, but a responsive, generous, deeply ordered system in which your consciousness played a direct and determining role in what was available to you. She called the universe's abundance your divine inheritance, not a gift to be earned, not a reward to be waited for, not a blessing to be begged for through sufficient suffering, an inheritance. Something that belongs to you by nature of what you are, a creation of the divine, living in a universe of infinite supply. An inheritance requires only one thing to be claimed, that you show up and claim it, that you present yourself at the door, that you say, in the language of your thoughts and your words and your emotional state, I know this is mine. I am here for it. I receive it now. The morning practice is how you present yourself at that door every single day. There is also something I want you to understand about the relationship between this morning practice and the actions of your day, because Florence was very clear that spiritual law and practical action are not in conflict. She never taught passivity. She never suggested that you should speak your affirmations and then sit in your bedroom waiting for money to fall from the sky. What she taught was that when you align your consciousness correctly, when you set your frequency in the morning to the vibration of abundance and expectancy and divine supply, your actions during the day become different in quality. You act from inspiration rather than desperation. You take risks that fear would have prevented. You follow instincts that scarcity consciousness would have dismissed as impractical. You have conversations that timidity would have avoided. You pursue ideas that smallness would have abandoned before they began. The morning practice does not replace the work of your day. It transforms the quality of that work from the inside out. It changes who is doing the work. And who is doing the work from what internal state, from what foundational belief about the universe's intention toward them, determines everything about what the work produces. Marcus, the businessman, did not change his strategy after beginning this practice. He did not change his pricing or his marketing or his service offering. But the quality of his presence in every conversation changed the energy he brought, the confidence that was no longer performing confidence but resting in a genuine sense of aligned expectancy. And the people in those conversations responded differently. Not because he had said something more clever or positioned himself more strategically, but because something in him had shifted at a fundamental level, and people feel that. The universe responds to that. The field of possibility reorganizes around that. This is why Florence always insisted that the work is internal first, not because the external does not matter, but because the external is always, without exception, a reflection of the internal. Change the internal, and you change what the external can bring you, not through magic, through law. Through the consistent, reliable operation of spiritual principles that have governed human prosperity since the beginning of consciousness. I also want to say something about the people around you, because one of the unexpected gifts of this practice, one that people often do not anticipate, is how it changes the quality of your relationships. When you are operating from scarcity, from the constant background hum of not enough, you relate to other people through the lens of that scarcity. You see potential competition where there might be collaboration. You see potential threat where there might be genuine support. You hold yourself back from generosity because you are not sure you can afford it. You contract in the presence of other people's success rather than celebrating it, because their abundance seems to come from a finite pool that leaves less for you. When you begin to genuinely operate from the truth of infinite supply, and this takes time, but it deepens, with each morning of practice, your relationship to other people's abundance changes completely. You find yourself genuinely glad when someone else prospers. You find yourself willing to give freely, to share ideas, to celebrate other people's wins without the defensive armor of comparison. And this openness, this generous, expansive orientation toward the world is itself a powerful attractor of abundance. Florence taught that what you affirm for others, you affirm for yourself. When you celebrate someone else's prosperity with genuine joy, you are sending the universe an unambiguous signal. I believe in abundance. I believe there is enough. I believe good fortune is real and available. I believe in more. And the universe, which responds to the truth of your beliefs rather than the performance of them, hears that signal and responds accordingly. This is also why I encourage you, after you have done this practice for a while, to share it, not to push it on anyone, not to become an evangelist for something that people have not asked to receive. But when someone in your life is struggling, when someone you care about is drowning in the same morning dread that you are beginning to leave behind, share what you know. Tell them what Florence taught. Offer them the 33 minutes. Because when you help someone else begin to align with their own abundance, you deepen your own. The field expands. The supply does not diminish because you shared it. It increases. Now let me give you the master affirmations that Florence reserved for the end of a complete morning cycle, the declarations that she believed should carry you through the rest of the day. Available to you in any moment, when the world begins to press against your frequency, and old patterns of worry try to reassert themselves. These are not for the morning only. These are for the checkout line when your card is declined, for the meeting that goes wrong, for the moment when the bill arrives that you did not expect and cannot currently cover. In that moment, when everything in you wants to contract and spiral and catastrophize, speak these instead, not to deny reality, not to pretend the problem does not exist, but to refuse to make the problem your frequency, to insist, against all present appearances, on the deeper truth. I walk in abundance. I wake in abundance. I sleep in abundance. Every moment of my life is an expression of divine prosperity in action, and no temporary appearance of lack can alter the eternal truth of my divine supply. And then this one, which Florence considered among the most powerful she ever received. God is my inexhaustible supply, and great sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. I do not worry. I do not struggle. I receive. Say these in the difficult moments. Say them especially when they feel most impossible to believe, because those are the moments when the old frequency is loudest, and your decision to speak abundance anyway is the clearest possible declaration of where your allegiance lies. You are choosing abundance. Not as a feeling, feelings cannot always be chosen, but as a practice, as a commitment, as a daily act of spiritual discipline that says, regardless of what appearances tell me today, I know the truth of this universe, and the truth is infinite supply, and the truth is that my good is here, and I claim it now. That claiming daily, consistently, with growing conviction, is what changes everything. One final thing, and it is perhaps the most important thing Florence taught: do not despise small beginnings. The first morning you do this practice, nothing dramatic may happen. The second morning, nothing visible may shift. By the end of the first week, you may be measuring your progress primarily in terms of how you feel when you wake up, rather than what has appeared in your bank account. Do not be discouraged. Do not mistake the absence of dramatic, immediate results for the absence of change. Change is happening. It is happening in the invisible world, in the depths of your subconscious, in the patterns of your perception, in the quality of your energy, in the subtle but real shifts in how you carry yourself, and how you meet the world, and how the world, in response, begins to meet you. These changes precede the visible results. They are the seeds that will become the harvest. Water them daily with your 33 minutes, and do not dig them up every morning to check whether they are growing. Trust the law. Trust the practice. Trust that the universe, which has been holding your good in readiness all this time, is fully capable of delivering it now that you have opened the channel. Florence Scovel Shinn spent her life teaching one essential truth. You are not at the mercy of your circumstances. Your circumstances are, in the most direct and literal sense, at the mercy of your consciousness. Change your consciousness, and your circumstances must change. It is law. It is as certain as any law you have ever trusted, without question. And it is available to you now, this morning, in 33 minutes, in 7 affirmations, in the simple, radical act of speaking abundance into the air, before the world has had a chance to speak scarcity into you. Your prosperity is not coming. It is here. It has always been here. You are simply learning, at last, how to receive it. Welcome to your morning. Welcome to your practice. Welcome to the abundant life that has been waiting, patiently and generously, for exactly this moment.